So Simon, we've been talking a lot about rapport, about that human connection, about things that inspire us and influence us to want to connect with other people, and how that's quite relevant when it comes to influence and persuasion. And I know that you are very interested in this topic, as indeed am I. And we both refer a lot to the work of Cialdini, who has written, now I think, is it Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion, or Persuasion, the Psychology of Influence? I always get that one wrong.
It's Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. Yeah.
Thank you. I just obviously did that deliberately to show you up as being the more intelligent of the two of us, clearly. Because what I'm doing there, Simon, you see, is I'm giving you something, and that leads me nicely into, you see what a wonderful segue this is? Leads me nicely into the first factor that Cialdini, of 6 factors that he identified that influence us to say yes to others, and that's reciprocity. If I do something for you, then you are much more likely to do something for me, and therefore of greater value as well. I find that's a very interesting one. But of course, would you agree with me, and I'm trying not to lead the witness here, but would you agree with me that this is open?
Well, of course I would. I'd always agree with you. Whatever you say, Luan.
Right, good, lovely. I've got that. Did you get that? Yeah, got that. Lovely. It's open to abuse, though. That isn't it? If I do something for you, and it's out of character, you're going to think, hello, wait a minute. Do you want something from me?
Yeah. So you're right. I think all influencing tools and mechanisms are open to abuse, without doubt. Now, these tools, that's what they are. They're tools. They're all tools. So it's like a hammer. You can use it to build somebody's house for them, or you can use it to knock down their house, or kind of thing. A tool can be used for good, or you can use for bad.
So moving on to the next one, scarcity, and I love this one because I've fallen into the trap myself. I have a massive tent at home which I don't need. I never did need, and I doubt I ever will need in the future. But I bought it because it was literally, this is the last one in
the last one there.
3 people are looking at this tent right now. Oh, good! I've got to have the tent. Got to have the tent, and bought the tent, and then I put the thing up. It's about the size of a wedding marquee. It was ridiculous. But I fell completely into the trap of 2 people.
Otherwise, it'd have been gone. Then you'd never have gone there, and you'd have missed out.
Exactly. It's very interesting that we do. We are susceptible to it, and I'm sure there are sneaky algorithms that know we're looking at stuff and pop up and say, 2 people are looking these seats at the moment. Only 7 left at this price, and you think, really? So what else have we got? We've got authority. We're much more likely, aren't we, to be persuaded by somebody we deem to be a credible, knowledgeable expert, much like yourself. See what I did there?
you got in there before I did. So, because I was going to say much like myself. In a complex world, we make shortcuts. So if we we do a quick assessment on the source. And if that is a credible source, we'll go, oh, it's probably right. I don't have the time to do my research myself.
And if you are so minded to be a confidence trickster, and with that level of authority, if you have the confidence to simply say, trust me, let's do this. And maybe even if you're wearing, I don't know, a high-vis jacket, you know what I mean? You've got a clipboard and a high-vis jacket.
Exactly.
All the trappings of some form of authority. And you're just telling people, actually, no, if you could go this way, please, go this way. I suspect quite a few people would be, okay.
Without doubt. I always wear a high-vis jacket for exactly that reason. No, you're right. It is. It's just it's the trappings. I mean, the great book, Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can.
Film, was brilliant. And a true life guy.
Frank Abagnale.
Frank Abagnale. That's it. And who would travel the world for free on planes just because he wore an airline pilot suit.
What about liking? That's another one. Aren't we much more likely to say yes to people we like? But we can't all be best friends with everybody, though, can we? So how do we get people to like us? How do you get people to like you? Because you're not a very likable person.
It's hard, isn't it? I know. So I've had to, because I'm not naturally a likable person, I've had to work really, really hard at it. It's a lot of that stuff we were talking about with rapport in previous things. It is matching, it is showing an interest, it's finding common ground, this kind of stuff.
Fascinating. I love all of this. And then, then of course, there's consensus and other of the factors. And this one really interests me because, if it's all right for everybody else, then it must be all right for me. And that's why everybody's desperate to get, the 5-star review, loads of reviews, lots of reviews on Amazon or Trustpilot or TripAdvisor. It was lovely. It was great. I had a wonderful time. Oh, well, it must be okay for me. And that thing, if you walk past a really smart restaurant and there's nobody in it, and you think, oh, I don't know, that's probably not very good. Completely failing to recognize that the restaurant might have been booked out for a private event and they just haven't arrived yet. Whereas next door, there's a queue outside, I don't know, some less nice restaurant, let's put it that way. I won't name names. And you think, oh, there's a queue. Well, this is obviously really good. So I'll join the queue. I mean, it makes no sense, and yet we fall into it all the time, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And again, it's one of those things that, 2 restaurants, I don't have time to do the research and to do, kind of things. So shortcut, it's, they've all decided this one. And they probably all decided because everybody else decided, they're all probably doing it on that consensus social proof kind of idea as well. So not necessarily based on anything real, but because they decided that way, I'll decide that way. So for example, social proof, consensus, now they pay people in countries around the world lots and lots of money to make lots and lots of fake reviews. And so
sometimes not even lots and lots of money. There's a company called, what's it called, Fiverr, and literally you pay in UK sterling a fiver to get, I mean, that's how you've got most of your reviews on your website.
That's right.
I know.
That's right. And you weren't even on a Fiverr, you were on the onequid.com website.
And then there's commitment, and this is a nice one, isn't it? Because this reminds me of those moments when, if you're walking around cue the dogs. If you're walking around a street in a busy city, so London, for example, and somebody comes up to you with a high-vis jacket and a tabard and says, "Have you got a couple of minutes?" and they're talking to you about a particular type of charity. It'll fade in a minute. It'll fade.
Consider it interesting background.
It'll fade. I mean, I'm obviously tempted to yell. But I lose all my status and credibility. So just with the power of my mind, I'm going to tell the dogs just to be quiet for a second. that level of, have you got a couple of minutes for your to talk about something? And then they ask you a question which is really hard to say no to. Exactly. About child poverty. No. Yeah. And then they come in obviously for the big one at the end. Are you prepared to give? And by that time, you probably said yes about 7 or 8 times.
The first person who documented this effect was Benjamin Franklin. So it's sometimes known as the Benjamin Franklin effect. So
really?
we were talking about doing somebody a favor, and then they're likely to feel indebted and do you a favor in response. Franklin found that if he asks, there's a little dog, waggy tail in the background. Franklin found that if you ask them to do you a favor, you will also get a good response because it's the same thing. And basically what it is cognitive dissonance. Constantly in their brain, they'll be thinking, oh, I've just done them a favor. I must like them. Yeah, they're my friend. And it changes their belief to match that behavior.
It's fascinating. In fact, I was just about to ask you if you wouldn't mind doing me a little favor and joining me again on another call when we can talk about how to influence and persuade dogs.